In a few weeks' time, the Preston Innovations England feeder team will be travelling over to Belgium to go and compete in the 11th World Feeder Fishing Championships. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who have shown an interest in actually taking the opportunity to travel over there to witness that event and to go and support the team. It's probably as near as a venue we're ever going to get to England, and it is easy to get to, so it will be great to see so many of you out there. However, what we have actually had, and certainly myself recently over the last few weeks, I've been getting asked more questions about the international rules side of things as regards feeder fishing competitions. And obviously the biggest reason for that is because the Angling Trust Feeder National Championships is taking place in a few weeks' time on the River Trent, and that does fall underneath the international rules category. And I've been getting asked quite a few questions about what are the key rules for anglers competing in an international rules event like that. So there are lots of people fishing that competition who aren't obviously so familiar with the international rules side of things. And whilst I would love our Ringer Baits team to go and win that competition, I would obviously hate anybody to be disqualified or be seen and being caught breaking the rules just through not being aware of what you can and cannot do. So there are loads of rules that fall underneath the international rules category, and underneath this video there is a link to the full program for that World Championships and a link that will show you all of the rules. However, in this video, in this upload, I'm just going to take 2 minutes out just to show you the key rules that will affect you in that competition. Now, the main one is that the feeder must be free running. Simple as that, okay? You must be more than familiar with that rule, because obviously that is something that applies to lots and lots of UK or certainly English commercial fisheries. Your feeder must be free running. All right, so you've got a nice simple feeder rig like that. So that is something that has got to, it's got to be free running, simple as that, okay? The other rule as well is that the hook length needs to be a minimum of 50 centimetres. Now that 50 centimetres measurement is from the base of the feeder. So when your rig is held up like that, just as though you're going to cast in, if you've got this sort of a rig, make sure that it finishes at the bottom or below the bottom of the feeder. That is where the 50 centimetre measurement comes from the bottom of the feeder, not from up here. All right, so be very, very careful. Your hook length can be longer than that, but it's a minimum of 50 centimetres, okay? Now, whilst we're on the topic of feeders, lots of people are into feeding heavy now or pre-baiting. The largest size feeder that you can use under international rules is 5 centimetres by 7, all right? So that is basically, that diameter there is 5 centimetres. And that length there is 7 centimetres. So that is exactly the right size, the largest feeder that you can use for baiting up. All right, simple as that. Like I say, there are lots of different rules, but these are the key ones that I'm just highlighting for you. You have got some bait limits as well. So the maximum amount of bait that you can actually take to your peg on this sort of this event is 15 litres of ground bait. Now, I completely understand that to lots of certainly English anglers, that when we start talking about 15 litres of ground bait, it's alien. How much is that? What is that? What does that physically look like? You know, now as you can imagine, it's a feeder fishing event. 15 litres of ground bait is an incredible amount of bait to obviously be allowed to use in a feeder fishing event, because obviously there's only so much bait you can actually feed. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be just quickly showing you is that there are measuring containers that we use for this sort of a competition. Now, the matrix bucket that I use, all right, needs a good clean, I know. On the inside of this bucket, there are litre level measurements, and that's replicated in some other buckets that are out there on the market. So if you have a bucket like this, there are litre lines within the actual bucket which shows you exactly what 15 litres of ground bait is, all right? So if you've got a bucket like that, obviously when it comes round to if there are going to be any bait inspections before the start of the match, a bucket like that with those guides on will show you how much ground bait you've got, so you're obviously not going to go over your limit. Now, within that 15 litres, obviously that's ground bait, but in that you have actually got other baits that fall under that 15 litre bait limit, okay? And those baits are baits like soils and leams, all right? So if you're using anything like that, they need to be counted within your 15 litres, all right? And so does hemp, and so does sweet corn. They all count within that 15 litres, all right? So be very, very careful not to go over that limit. Now, as regards the other baits, like your maggots, your worms, your casters, your bloodworm, your joker, that is where these tubs come in. All right, these are I'm sure you've seen these. These are obviously the matrix ones, and these are your bait measures. So each one of these is actually marked up. So as you can see, that largest one's got a number 1 on it, and that basically means that that is 1 litre. All right, I know anglers that use these on the domestic circuit for measuring out. Now the next one inside, 3/4 of a litre, and they obviously go down and down and down in size. Okay, so that's going to help you measure out your baits. Now the maximum amount of live baits that you can have within this is 2.5 litres. All right, but within that 2.5 litres, you can only have a maximum, which is now, it's 3/4 of a litre of Joker. All right, that was used to be 1/2 litre. Under this year's World Championships rules, the ones shown and detailed in the link underneath this video, it's now 3/4 of a litre. Now, whether that's going to be the same on the Angling Trust Feeder National Championships, you'll need to check it. Bloodworm and Joker could even be banned, which I think it probably will be. But please check that with the Angling Trust. I'm not going to get involved in that, but just please check it. And as regards worms, the maximum amount of worms that you can have is 1/2 litre. And when they talk about worms, they're referring to earthworms. So they're your dendrobenas, and that is what 1/2 litre looks like. As you can see on the bottom of that, it's a 1/2 litre tub. So when that is full, that is 1/2 litre. So that gives you an idea of the maximum amount of worms that you can have. Now that's your bait. And the final one that I just want to highlight is that, I mean, if Bloodworm and Joker does come into it, then that is the official measuring tub for the Bloodworm, which is your hook bait. All right. And the final one is really the keep net rule. You know, this is something that obviously can easily get overlooked. Here in the UK, lots of people are using 2.5 metre keep nets. The minimum length keep net that you can use is 3.5 metres, and at least 1.5 metres of that actually needs to be in the water. So as you can imagine, sometimes you might be on a venue where you're high off the water. This is why, you know, a 4 metre keep net, like the one that I use, particularly the river keep net, is great, because even if you're high off the water, there's still plenty of net actually in the water for the fish and for, you know, the fish's welfare. So I'm going to really look forward to seeing some of you in that event this year. You know, there's quite a bit of a buzz around it. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you on the bank. And I just thought I'd give you this upload just to help some of you out, because I'd hate to see you know, get caught breaking the rules just through not being aware of what they are all about. So I hope you found this upload helpful.